everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Experience Shakespeare. I'm Cassidy Cash. If you're new here, each week on Saturday we put together a new episode that lets you experience Shakespeare at home. We do that by taking a tiny piece of Shakespeare's actual history and showing you how it's done. This week we're going to be taking a look at card games in Elizabethan England. Specifically, we're going to look at a game called Spoil 5, also called Maw. It shows up in Shakespeare's plays, and it was popular during Shakespeare's lifetime. In fact, James I was said to be very fond of this game. He and his court played it. Despite the game originating in Ireland, the Scottish, it seems, were very fond of playing this particular game. And today, I'm going to show you how you can play it as well. The game of Maw is considered Ireland's oldest national card game. It is related to the game of 25 and the Canadian version game called 45. Now, the idea is either you yourself as a player are going to earn 5, or you're going to spoil the other people from being able to earn their 5. Now, that's why it's sometimes called Spoil 5. Now, by 1603, when James I came to the throne after Queen Elizabeth died, he was the official patron of William Shakespeare's company, the Lord Chamberlain's Men, which when James took them over, they changed their name to the King's Men, obviously, because now they are under the patronage of the king. And it was King James that made Maw the chief game of the English court. He was very fond of it, and so were his courtiers. And a book from 1603 called Court and Character of King James refers specifically to the king's card holder at Maw.
I'll link you over to some resources where you can explore this book further. I'm not 100% sure about the date here. King James I came to the throne in 1603, and Sir Anthony Weldon did write very critical accounts of James I's reign, as well as Charles I's reign during this time period. So while the book depicting James I playing the game of Maw does date to within Shakespeare's lifetime, I'm not 100% sure if it was 1603, but I'll link to where you can learn more about the book itself.
And there is a quote that says, "His Majesty appears to have played at cards just as he played with affairs of state, in an indolent manner, requiring in both cases someone to hold his cards, if not to prompt him what to play." That's not a very flattering thing to say about the king, now is it? But it does show that King James was an avid card player. And there's an engraving from 1626 that depicts King James playing at Maw with the kings of Denmark and Sweden, and it's captured with Denmark being bold, deals freely round, and the first card he shows is the 5-finger, which being turned up goes cold to the monk's heart. The next Denmark sees is the ace of hearts. The monk could shew him nothing but the knave. Later in the 1600s, card games would be outlawed by the Puritans in England. So it's a unique aspect of William Shakespeare's life to play cards, because after he died, shortly after his death, by only about 50 years, they would not have card games in England at all, and there was an official law banning that cards no longer be allowed to be imported. So it is, like so many things during William Shakespeare's lifetime, a unique thing that wasn't really going on in the same way before or after his life. Now, you can use any standard deck of cards to play this game, or you can use what we're going to use, which is a 16th century French deck of cards. In England during Shakespeare's lifetime, most of their playing cards were imported from France. Later in the late 17th century, this would be banned, and the English would make their own cards and base them on the designs from the French cards. So either way you slice it, for William Shakespeare, the 16th century French deck of cards fits nicely into his lifetime and are similar to what he would have used. So you can use these, and I do link to an affiliate link for these below the video that you can use to buy your own set, or if you have a standard deck of cards laying around your house, that will work just fine. Personally, I think learning to play it one way and then adding tricks and variations would be the way to go. What do you think? Sounds good. Okay. No, we have to play this way. Okay. This is the text of a late 16th century set of laws for the game of Maw, as controlled by the groom porter, who was the officer responsible for everything to do with games and gaming at the royal court. In this case, James I of England. It's exactly from Shakespeare's lifetime. We have to play this way. We're going to play the 16th century way. This is the official way that James I played this game. We have to learn it this way. Yeah, challenge with a U. The lower of the dealing deal not again, you acquit the four, and no gain to either of both parties. Did that sentence make any sense to you whatsoever?
Using a resource called Partlet Games from the UK, we put together the instructions for Maw. And as we were researching it, we discovered this great list from the 16th century that was literally the official court rules from James I on how to do this. And so we started researching what we needed to do to play the game correctly, exactly the same way that William Shakespeare would have played it. Me and Tim researching together is quite the sight, but we did eventually figure it out. For our version, we're playing with each person being a single team just because that was easier with kids. If you wanted to be exactly like James I, you would probably play it just like spades and sit across from your partner and play in teams.
So as it be done before his own carded the played. I feel like I need an accent I don't have to read this. Okay, so I think we're ready to play now. So we've all got our money.
All right, so first off,
You have money?
Yep. Everybody has money. Ty gets money.
Okay.
First off, we're gonna deal people cards until we get to a
Are
jack.
you supposed to deal them face down?
No, we're getting to a jack.
No, we're getting to a jack to see who goes.
See who deals. See
Okay.
who first deals.
And these being 16th century
You got a
cards,
jack.
they're blank on the back, and then you should look at the really cool picture of the jack. So that means I get to deal.
You shuffle
Oh, that's
and
exciting.
Ty cuts. And then you deal.
So the person on your right cuts the deck. To cut the deck, that does not mean actually cut it. It means you're going to pick up some and set it to the side. So pick up a few and set it to the side.
There you go.
There you go. Perfect. Good job. Okay. Now I deal everyone 5.
You deal a set of 3 and then a set of 2.
Okay. Everyone needs to get 5 cards. 1. So wait. If you deal 3 and then 2, do you go 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
1, 2,
that's
3,
what
1,
it's
2,
saying,
3? Oh, give them back. I did it wrong.
Yeah.
So I messed up the deal, and the penalty is that I have to forfeit the deal and pass it to the person on my left and pay the ante again.
Yes.
Okay, so I messed up the deal. Give me that.
So first go round.
That was it. Yeah. So, well, it does say that your other players get to say whether or not.
You can just double your ante.
I'll double my ante.
So-
Okay. Everyone that's playing, put a piece of paper right there. Except I had to put 2 because I messed up the deal. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
You're good, Ty.
And then 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay. And then I put the stack in the middle.
You need 2 more.
Oh, I need 2 more. They made that rule for me. Stack in the middle, flip up the card. So diamonds is the trump card. So diamonds is the trump. So you can look at your cards now.
And I'm going to lead with an 8 of spades. So if you have a spade, you have to play a spade. That is a very low card because the lower the number of spade, the more valuable it is. If you have a diamond, you can play a diamond. So you trumped me.
Okay, Ty, these are your cards too. If you have a spade, you need to play a spade.
He can play that trump and take the hand. So if you have a spade, you have to play it unless you want to play a trump. You can't throw a clover down or something like that.
Okay.
Elliot, you took that one.
So
now you get to lead with any card you want to. Okay. Ooh.
okay, your turn.
You have a
Ty, if you have a heart or that. All right. So Ty's played a trump. If I have a heart, do I have to play it?
Yes, unless you have a trump. Unless you want to play a trump.
Okay.
I do not have a heart. If I don't have the one, I can play any card. All right, I lay one of your cards over here. 7 of clubs. Well, see, that beats the 7 because
it goes lower.
Down. Face cards always stay on the high end.
Right.
And then the number cards in black, it starts at 1 and counts to 10, getting less valuable.
Okay.
In the red cards, it starts at 10 and counts down, getting less valuable.
Okay.
So, do you have a club or a diamond? Okay.
Play
your club. Okay, so
you can play any card you want to, Ty.
Okay.
Good job.
All right, so I got that one. I've got a trump 4.
Okay, you play. No,
Play your last
now you
card.
just play your last card, Elliot. Play it. Okay, your turn, Ty.
Let's see.
Daddy wins. So at the end of this round, you get the money.
Yes.
And then we do it again.
And then we do it again.
So that's how you play the game of Maw. You just continue in rounds until you run out of money or you reach a certain amount of points. And neither of the versions of the game that we saw today referenced the point scale, but I am going to go research that for you. And if I find out what the scoring method is for this game, I will link to that in the show notes for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps you learn something new about William Shakespeare and that you can go and play a game with your family that comes straight from William Shakespeare's history and the court of James I specifically. How exciting is that? You are playing the same game as a king of England 400 years ago. Thank you for being here. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. And if you look down below, you can sign up for that Shakespeare Life newsletter. If you enjoy studying Shakespeare and you like getting free history resources once a month, sign up for that Shakespeare Life newsletter down below, and I'll see you next Saturday. Bye-bye.